Howdy do, buckaroos. How the heck are you? So every once in a while, I just get a bee in my bonnet, or say something chaps my ass, and I'll just do a video out of nowhere. This is one of those. So I'm just having a beer, and I'm not going to tell you what it is because it's rather inconsequential for what I'm doing here. I'm talking about beer grading. It just bothers me. And I'll tell you why. I've always said that my problem is that there is no set criteria. That most beer reviewers, now there are a handful of really good ones, and my favorite guy out there is John Brew Guru, because the Brew Guru is consistent. I don't. There isn't a standardized set of criteria other than what I'm going to show you here in a minute, but for everybody to use or that everybody uses. So the only ones I'm going to take serious are those that are consistent every time with the criteria they use. And the problem is almost none of them are. So what I have here, a friend of mine posted this up on the internet, so I printed it off. It is here, block that mysterious blue line. That goes to the forest. See if it was red, you go to the dark side. It's a gateway to the forest, man. So anyways, AHA BJCP sanctioned competition program. Now, let me show this to you. My issue has always been that there's no set criteria. You watch so many beer reviews, and they're just pulling numbers out of their keys. Oh, I gave it a 75. Oh, I gave it a C. But what did you take those points off for? You don't tell me what you're taking points off for, and that's a problem for me. And here, even on this BJCP sheet, I really expected there to be more criteria on here, but it says aroma. As appropriate for style, comment on malt, hops, esters, and other aromatics. Okay, that makes sense. And it gives you up to 12 points. You're supposed to give a blank to 12. Okay, so let's say I give it a 10 out of 12. But it doesn't say what constitutes, well, I mean, comment malt, hops, so certain things are going to constitute a point loss, but it doesn't say how much. My point being, what I might think would constitutes a full point deduction, somebody else might say half a point, or somebody else might say 2 points. Unless it's specific, you lose a tenth of a point for this, like in gymnastics or diving, for instance, which is very subjective as well, and it always causes arguments, and there is a set criteria. If it said you lose a tenth of a point for this, a half a point for this, 3/4 of a point for this, a full point for this, okay, then I'd get behind it. I don't know if I'd agree with every beer reviewer out there, but at least there'd be something consistent. And even this isn't consistent. I mean, appearance says 0 out of 3 points. Comment on color, clarity, and head retention. I'm sorry, color, clarity, and head retention, color, and texture. But there you go. But it doesn't say what constitutes or how much a deduction a flaw is, or what a perceived flaw is. So I say, okay, well, I'll give it a 2 out of 3. But what did I take that point off for? I don't really have to mark on there. I guess I could say, well, I took it off for X, X, and X. I took a full point. But the judge sitting next to me, for the exact same infraction, could have taken a half a point off. He could have taken a 1/4 point off. He could have taken 2 points off. And that's my problem with the whole thing. I mean, it's just folks pulling numbers out their ass. I mean, there really isn't. I mean, there should be some kind of consistency behind it. This is why I just test beer grading, because it just doesn't make sense. That's why I don't do it. I don't, again, for those of you out there that are going to say, well, Tom, you're a beer reviewer. No, I'm not. I've never considered myself a beer reviewer. I've never called myself a beer reviewer. I always said what I do is commentary. Now, I'll remark on tasting notes. I'll tell you what I taste in the beer. But that's the difference, between what I do and what so many beer reviewers do. And so many beer reviewers think that what they say is etched in stone. I know so many out there that get their panties in a wad if you disagree with them. If you taste something slightly different than they do, they say, no, you want to get this. No, you're going to get this. Or, if you remark that someone tastes something that's not typical for the style, if you mention that to them, again, they get their panties all up in a twist, And that's my problem. That's my problem, is so many think they're godlike. Just because you taste something doesn't mean that's what I'm going to taste. That's why I tell you what I taste. I say in almost every video that I do too, is you're probably going to get something different. You may get more flavors than I do. You might get less. You might get different flavors. It is all very subjective, and that's my issue with beer grading. So there you go. That's my what chaps my ass moment. Now I'm going to talk for 20 minutes about who knows what else. There are a couple of guys out there I read or watch, or whatever the case may be. The Brew Guru happens to be my favorite written column. And I've said this many times, so I mean it's not going to be a surprise to him that I mentioned it, or anybody else if you've watched me before, because he does something special in his columns or his beer reviews that most don't. Is that he always gives you a history of the beer, he gives you a personal story behind the beer, and then he gives you a comprehensive breakdown of the beer. Now, I don't necessarily agree with every review he does, but I certainly respect the way he goes about doing it. And that's the problem. So many people are just going, oh, I don't know, I gave it a B. I mean, unless you have, even if you're not using this criteria, if you have your own set of criteria that you use consistently, if you're consistent every time in how you look at a beer, well, then I'll get behind you. I mean, it's okay. I mean, I'm not for it. Again, I don't like the idea of, but so many people aren't consistent. Again, some people, for some knowledge of anything else, you get a little bit of knowledge, you think you're an expert. I've talked to guys who've been drinking beer a year, all of a sudden they're craft beer experts. They know more than a guy like me that's been drinking for 30 years because, maybe they read a book. Well, but I'm saying you read the wrong book unless you read, unless you read some Michael Jackson, you read the wrong books, my friend. I'm talking the beer guy, not the pop star who I'm not a fan of. So I'm just go ahead and alienate, those folks. It is frustrating, I mean, again, I lost what I was going to say there, but yeah, I mean, it's a lack of understanding. It's a lack of knowledge. It's also a lack of understanding of style. Some folks just don't get style. I mean, I got into an argument with a guy a while back about Urban Chestnut's Vickle, for instance. It is by nature a cloudy beer. It is a lager. It is supposed to be slightly cloudy, but he referred to it as the cloudiness as an unforgivable flaw. So if that beer was up to be judged, somebody might knock off for clarity. The style is supposed to be cloudy. So if you don't understand the style, you're going to get it wrong. So someone might take a point or even 2 points off or something like that just because they're ignorant. Again, there are more reasons why beer grading chaps my ass. It just chaps my ass, man. I like when I get in a certain light, my cross sparkles. See that? So every once in a while I grab it. That's mostly due to my Tourette's. My Tourette's will cause me to do silly mannerisms. And I've had folks remark on it every once in a while, I do have Tourette's. It is real. Tourette's is a real thing, although some people think it's not. It is diagnosed. I do have diagnosed Tourette's. I'm just not saying I have Tourette's. It is well known, in my personal circle. But, there are some folks that still deny it exists. So. Anyway, that's why I do these certain mannerisms, But I just noticed it was kind of glare every once in a while. I look a certain way, and there'll be a glare on it. So here we go. There'll be a sparkle from the force. I got the force window there. I just wish I could do an exit, just jump straight out the window. If I had a special effects team, I go, I could just disappear into the force. Unfortunately, you just see my fat ass hit up against the window and splat, which, could even be better ratings. You never know. Some people would like to see my fat ass go splat. Anyways, again, the beer I'm drinking favorite, so. But I'm not doing a review on it. I'm just enjoying the beer for the, my nose itches. I apologize for scratching. Oh, the allergies are killer today. Oh man, I've been having to double and triple up on the allergy pills because man, it's just killing me lately. So sometimes, if you've watched me before, I've done these live videos where I've invited folks in. I actually didn't invite anybody in for this one because I just wanted to ramble on for a few minutes. My beer grading or judging irritates the living shit out of me. Yeah. It just does. Every time I watch somebody, there are some guys out there. I mean, there are folks that get good ratings, get a lot of views, that almost have no concept of style. When you're watching, okay, I give this one a plus. All right, I give this one a plus. Okay, I mean, tell me why. I give, this great craft beer. I give it a plus. Okay, that's probably good. I give this big horrible bagger on a plus. Okay, why? But you won't tell me why. you know, it just doesn't make sense. The problem is a lot of folks. There are some folks out there that don't have an integrity, which is don't which is why another reason why beer grading bothers me, because you got folks that people will watch and take serious, and they're all they're trying to do is get hits. All they're trying to do is get views. So, and all they're trying to do in many cases is get free beer. So they're basically doing these beers or saying, oh, it's an A plus, just so they then send it to that macro company who can then send them some free beer. Hey, look, I was a wonderful things about your beer. Can I try your next wonderful product? For some people, free beer is more important than integrity. And that's something I won't do. Which, I mean, I've said this before. I even have an article on it on my webpage, TommyBeerWhisperer.com. I mean, I just don't know. I mean, it frustrates me to know that. Yeah, I wrote an article. I wrote an article about lots of things. Lots of things that chat my ass, man. I don't know. I just, for me, it's integrity is more important than free beer. And actually, I really love to buy my own beer. That way, I'm doing it honest. I'm doing it straightforward. Now, I've been to places. I've been to many breweries where I've had the brewer, the owner, or somebody there buy me a beer. I'm not saying that's a problem. I'm not saying it's not okay to accept free beer, but it's, in my opinion, it's not okay to solicit it. And I think that's what a lot of these folks do, is they solicit free beer. Then they do these, they do these pseudo reviews. Oh, this is an A plus. You're gonna love it. You're gonna love it because I got it free, so I'm gonna say it's an A plus. You may think it's D, but you didn't get it free. See, my integrity ain't for sale, folks. Anyways, everybody officially offended everybody at this point. I think I'm pretty well done. I think I was done 10 minutes ago, but then it kind of got me again. Why don't you say this? Yeah, I mean, again, there are some great beer reviewers out there. There really are. But I think, in my opinion, it's a very small handful. And there are so many that aren't so great that think they are. That think that everything they say is absolute gold. And that's the problem. I mean, this is very subjective, even for the best beer reviewer out there, even for the guy who really, really knows his stuff. I mean, just because he thinks something's an A plus doesn't mean it's actually an A plus. That's just his opinion on that given day. And there are so many reviewers out there that give you a review, and if you comment on it slightly different, well, I got this note and this note. I've seen folks just go freaking ape shit. I got this exactly what this ain't cut stone, folks. This ain't carved in stone. Everybody may get something different, and some folks just take this shit way too seriously. Let's have a beer. Let's relax. Let's enjoy the damn beer. And don't put a number on it. We don't have to put a number on it. We don't have to compare it to another beer. For me, the rating system I use is, will I buy it again or not? And the honest truth is, because I will not buy a beer again doesn't necessarily mean it was a bad beer. It just means there are so many great craft beers out there that maybe that's not one I'm personally going to revisit. But but it's that simple for me. Will I shell out the money again? And I think that's the important thing that folks really want to know. Should I buy it? Is that something that anybody should want? But even saying that, you shouldn't take my word for it. Don't take my word for it. Don't take Beer Advocate's word for it. And again, that's another thing that drives me crazy, when folks will stop at the cooler and look up Beer Advocate. Really, you don't have a mind. You don't have a mind of your own. Are you really that freaking insecure? You got to look up strangers' opinions. I mean, to me, that's just asinine as well. But maybe that's another video. Don't look up Beer Advocate. Don't look up Rate Beer. I don't even think you should jack with Untapped, although I know a lot of folks like it. For me, I'm going to trust my gut and buy what I like. I mean, I will talk the beer stores that I go to locally. I've got a good beer guy at each one, and I'll always ask about certain things. And you know, sometimes I might check the brewer's website, but 90% of the time, I just say, this looks good. You know, I trust my gut, and again, 90% of the time, I'm right. So you don't trust anybody else's gut because they're not the one spending the money. They're not the one drinking the beer. Use your own judgment. Somebody's calling me. Somebody's calling me, man. Okay, well, I got to go. Stubborn Pierce, we'll talk to you later.